And welcome to Tell Me Your Story, New Paradigms for a New World. I am Reverend Dr. D. Richard Dugan, and we have a returning guest. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, she's back to talk to us about a lot of cool things. She calls herself, and I love the way people take words and they kind of twist them around a little bit. I refer to coincidence. I don't believe in coincidence. I believe in coincidences. In other words, incidents that coincide, ladies and gentlemen. Well, she calls herself a permissionary. I love that word. Lindy James. Lindy James is my guest. She's on a mission, and we're going to find out what that mission is. Lindy, thank you once again for joining us here on the program. And by the way, I should mention a disclaimer that we may be talking about some things that you may not want to have the kids in the room for, but we're going to keep it clean. We're going to keep it appropriate and all that good stuff because this is an important conversation to have. Welcome. Thank you for being here.
My pleasure. It's wonderful to be with you again, Richard.
Well, I want to find out, let's start from that point of, first of all, what is your mission? What is it that you are all about in this world? And then we'll also give out your website address. We'll give that in a moment.
This started a long time ago. I was in my 30s and we were at a retreat and we were just being so loving with each other and doing things like drumming over the body and changing how we felt. And it occurred to me through tears, we're in the permission zone. And basically what that means is to be real, to really feel permission to not put on any airs, to not be in supposed to really listen to what's true for you in the moment. So I call myself a permissionary on a mission to help you have your own permission. And because the word and the moment was so special to me, that's why I stayed with it, even though it might not make sense when someone sees, welcome to the permission zone. Like, what does that mean?
Yeah.
But it's an important piece in our lives because we're so trained and so like you do this, this, and this, and it's how you behave. Now, how do we come back to our general real nature?
I guess, and this may be a little bit of a stretch from my standpoint, but I guess I could look at it this way. My first wife and I bought this house, and I was really trusting the universe with the whole process. And once we got in there, and it was a great house, 1993, 3-bedroom, 2-bath brick home. Are you ready for this one? Are we all sitting down? $43,000. Yeah, it's probably worth close to $250,000. I wouldn't be surprised in Phoenix, but be that as it may. I asked the question of the universe. I says, what have I done to deserve this? The answer that I got back was nothing. It's yours. I just want you to have it. So the logical second question was, what do I have to do to keep it? Some would say, well, it would be a good idea if you paid the mortgage. No. We're talking on a higher level here. And the voice came back, nothing. You're my creation. I want you to have it. I want you to enjoy it. Well, my present wife and I moved from Santa Barbara back in October 2025. And I didn't have to ask those questions because we both felt that we were just being blessed. We were being graced with an incredibleness, that an awesomeness. We're sometimes in awe, but grateful that we are where we are. We actually were able to buy a house that was valued at over, and by the way, I love saying it this way rather than the actual numbers, $250,000. We bought a house for more than $250,000, which we qualified for. Go figure. But anyway,
very good.
When I'm talking about permission, it's like, do we really have permission to do this? And I'm talking on that higher level, the higher consciousness level, which is really, I think, where we have to start, isn't it? It's great that, and as a kid growing up, you get permission from your parents. And of course, we learned as we grew older, well, it is, it's better to ask for forgiveness than permission. And yet, boy, I tell you what, asking for forgiveness is not as easy as just saying, hey, I would like to do this. Can I?
Right. And we take it further into permission for yourself to really
Mm-hmm.
be yourself.
To be yourself.
And that takes some unwinding for a lot of people.
Oh.
Yeah, and so, I'm supposed to look like this, I'm supposed to act like that. Especially, I'm a Tantra teacher, so especially around intimacy, relationship, communication, learning how to be very much real in a loving way,
Mm-hmm.
to be able to set boundaries in a loving way, to be able to speak to what your heart says and wants and desires. Um, I have, I teach from beginner to advanced, and I had one woman. She was young and she was Asian, raised to be. Not that I'm saying every family is that way, but it's a culture that women are. Um, Let me just say, she said to me, "You mean I can say no?" And it was a shock to her.
Yeah.
And so she said no for the next year.
Mm.
Because to find your true yes, one must actually be able to say no. And so you're saying yes to yourself. And
Mm.
that's a piece of the permission that we give ourselves to be more in alignment with who we are and what we desire.
Are you able to observe people? And again, we're not sitting here like a body language expert who's watching people. Oh yeah, he means this, she means that, she's saying this, she's saying that. Subtext, with the body language, and they're analyzing the people all the time. I asked my dear friend Ramona Richards, who did face analysis and
Hmm.
so forth, and she said, "Oh no, I never did that. I mean, it might be easy to fall into, but I wanted to be respectful of the people around us." So my question to you in regards to this aspect, are you able to notice as you move throughout your day when people are being real with you, they are being genuine and authentic as opposed to putting on the mask? And of course, I'm opening myself up here, but that's
I
okay.
see you, Richard.
Yeah. But do you notice that, let's say you're, I don't know, maybe you're watching the news and you're listening to whoever and they're saying whatever they're saying, but you just get this sense that they're not, either A, they're not telling the whole truth, or they're lying. I mean, they're out and out saying falsehoods. They know it, but they're uncomfortable with it, but they have to because for whatever the reasons
Or
are,
they're more uncomfortable with the truth.
or they're more uncomfortable. That's
That's the
entirely true
balance
too.
that we live in.
Yeah.
And I'm able to feel it. It's not
Mm-hmm.
so much that I'm looking at somebody and how
Right.
they hold their face, but I'm able to feel if it's authentic.
Mm-hmm.
I'm also like, I have family members that are traditional and always overextending themselves and apologizing and being, trying to make me feel good. And I just want them to be real.
Mm-hmm.
I just want them to be able to say, you know what, I don't feel like making dinner. Can we do it together? To not feel like they have to be a certain way to deserve love. For me,
Mm-hmm. Well,
in
I mean,
tradition, in families, that may be the case,
yeah.
but that's not what I teach, and it's
Yeah.
not what I want.
Well, especially when it comes to couples. Yeah, families. I mean, I grew up in a household with a total of 8 people, two parents and 6 kids, myself being a member of the sixth. And um, I would say that for the most part, we were, pretty genuine with one another. I mean, certainly there were times, but of course, one of the ways to avoid it is I spent a lot of time out of the house. I was running around. I was a paper boy in high school. And so I was always out, maybe collecting money, or maybe it was time to deliver the papers, et cetera, et cetera. And so I kind of avoided that a little bit. But at the same time, there comes a point in time, right, when the truth will out. In other words, you can't hide it anymore. It isn't so much that it's out there. We know, the people that are around you, we know that something is going on now. And I love it when parents, and I do believe they mean this genuinely, when parents say, "Hey, you can talk to us. you can tell us anything. Um, I've shared this before, so it's all right for me to share this again. At the age of 21, I met this woman who was 11 years my senior and a divorcee, and we were having this relationship. And I came home from her house one morning, and my mother comes into the bedroom and she says, uh, the kids have been asking where you are. What are you going to tell them? Because she knew, she knew I
Mhm.
had shared that with her. And she says, what are you going to tell them? I said, well, I'll tell them the truth that I met this woman and that's that. And so, and I felt comfortable enough, obviously, to share that with her. Even in my first marriage, when we were going through some challenges, my first thought was my folks have been married for like 35, 40 years. They have the experience. They went through marriage encounter and so forth. Let's go talk to them. And we did.
Mm. Mm.
And even to this day, and now my present wife and I, we don't do that in that fashion. However, I talk to my mom on a regular basis, and she's going to be 92 this year. Now, my father has since passed, but I still communicate with him. And I really I asked my mother about forgiveness. I want to talk a little bit about this, the conversation around forgiveness, because we do stuff. And it's like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have done that. And then we need to go. It's again the old permission versus forgiveness. I even asked my mom, I says, was there ever a point in time before dad's illness and so forth where you guys sat down and you said, you know what? I would like to, maybe ask your forgiveness or forgive you for, maybe a list of things that you're thinking of. She says, no. She says, within 2 weeks after we were married, now we're talking back in the late 50s. Okay.
Mhm.
She says, we were having a real verbal, and she was, she says, I was just going, and he was just quiet as a mouse. He didn't say a word. And she says, why aren't you playing the game? Why aren't you yelling back and so forth? He says, because I don't want to play. And I must have gotten that from him because I can't stand the drama. Okay. But they sat down at that point and they said, okay, from now on, if there is anything that we have a problem with each other about, we sit down and we talk about it. And
Exactly.
I was blown away by the fact that they did it not only that early in their relationship, their marriage, but during that era, that period of time in the mid late 50s when people don't do that, you know. And so I'm wondering about this whole aspect of forgiveness. Is that a really big deal these days? Here we are in the 21st century. We should be much more enlightened
Oh,
in
there's
a way.
whole workshops around forgiveness
Yeah.
now. It's a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
And what I want to speak to in couples, what I get them to do, and I love what your father did. I just love that. Is we speak to the not the story, not the argument, not the what you didn't do or did do, but what's the person feeling. And so
Mm.
I'll have usually I'll have the guy do it first, like get really grounded and listen. And I said, aside from her words, what is she feeling? And if you contact the feeling, they're going to feel heard. If you defend and say, well, that's not really what happened is this, we're mixing oil and water. Logic and emotion do not go together. And so to be able to just look at your partner and say, that must feel so sad or must be hard for you. You're not admitting guilt, but you're listening.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had so much success with that people say, well, that was the best session we've ever had. And even as the other person starts to shrink a little bit, I say, okay, now you pause and listen and feel him. Did you notice that?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so being able to let go of the story, like your mom was arguing about something and your dad was like, I don't want to play that game.
Mm-hmm.
What I really need is you to just sit down and listen to me, be present with me, be loving with me.
Yeah.
That's what I really need. And I might not even know that.
Mm-hmm.
So we get them to do that, and that expands into what's happening in the world. There's so much arguing
Yeah.
about a position, but
Yeah.
not a lot of connecting, and we're starting to get a little divided.
Yeah.
Well, not starting, it's quite divided.
Yeah.
And
It's,
I don't want to be on one side or another side. I want to say, how can we just be more loving?
yeah.
This is what the whole planet needs.
Well, I will tell you, I'm going to share this with you. I've shared it on this program a number of times before. When my father, um, when I beg your pardon, when my eldest sister passed away, my brother and I, following her memorial that evening, we were sitting in my parents' dining room, and we started having this conversation. Now, the conversation actually, I kind of elicited it because I was curious. My elder sister, she's closer in age to me than my eldest sister, and she had told me, she said, "How can you and your brother be so different?" I says, "I don't know. What are you talking about?" She says, "Well, you believe these things over here, and you're more this side of the political spectrum, and he's way the hell over here." You know, and on and on and on. I says, "Really? I didn't know that." Because he and I haven't really communicated over the years. Not estranged, we just haven't had the connection. So there we are in my parents' dining room, and we start the conversation. And I could feel where it was going to go. We're on opposite ends of the political spectrum, for example. And I made the commitment. I said, it doesn't matter where this ends, whether it's an hour or whatever. And because he's always going to be my brother. And the common points are we have the same parents, we grew up in the same house, we had similar childhoods as far as growing up and so forth, and we have gone our own way and created our own lives, and we've had our wives and so forth and so on. So I'm not going to place a barrier. And when we were done, we had come to the conclusion that there were three challenges that needed to be dealt with. Now, be honest with you, I don't even remember what they are now. Okay.
Mm,
And it doesn't matter. But I said, but we came to the conclusion that there are three challenges. Did not agree on how to deal with them, but we did have three things that we agreed on. That was good enough for me. And now, since my wife and I've moved into our brand new house here, actually it's a 1979 house, but nonetheless, I'm having a blast with the DIY projects. But there's one that I thought maybe because he was an electrical engineer with Disney and he's got lots of friends in architecture and design and engineering. I thought maybe he could help me with this. And now he lives in Vietnam with his wife and his new baby. By the way, he's only 2 years younger than me. I'm 66, so he's 64 and just had a baby. And
wow.
I think it's fantastic. I really do. But he is there for me, and we're talking. We're having a great time. We don't go down that other road. We don't. There's no need to.
Yep. Same as me and my brother. I asked him once a question political, and he went into such anger. I'm like, okay, different subject. He's a very loving person. We just have opposite belief
Yeah,
systems.
exactly. And I think that is kind of what happens within relationships, couples, long before this polarization really took hold in this country. But we had differences. My parents. Now, I interviewed my parents 11 years ago on this program.
Oh,
And one of the things that my mother said about their relationship and my father was, she says, I support him in all of his dreams and his aspirations and desires and so forth, and he supports me in mine. And she summed it up by saying, I have his back and he has mine. And I'm thinking, wow, is this where I come from? This is very cool, you know.
very cool. Yeah.
And when I went through my first divorce, I said to myself, another one of those little self conversations. All right, because I'd already met the woman I'm with now that I married. Uh, I'm not going through this again. I am going to do everything in my power to make this work. And that's what I've done for the last 28 years. And it's sometimes I'm shocked that it's been 28 years. Like, wow. Do you have challenges with couples where one of them wants to really make it work, wants it to last because they like the other person, they really do. Or I should say maybe they love the other person, maybe they don't really like them that much because of
Yeah.
whatever it is.
Yeah. Hmm.
And the other person is just I can't do this anymore, blah 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 blah. Does it take finding those common denominators at first in order to maybe get them to start dialoguing and realizing what is really important here?
It does. And basically, I don't allow them to argue anymore. I'm like, I'm not your referee. um, I want you to decide if you really want to be together. Why is that? And if that's the case, then we have some work to do. And I've even had couples so mad at each other that all I could get them to do was hold pinky fingers. But that was enough to start the thread back and forth again so that they can help each other feel heard and what they want. And they don't have to be alike. But making the decision to stay together is the first step. Like you said, I don't want to do this again. So how can I? And that speaks to, really about love. In my book, there's a difference between feeling love for a person and having that person be a good match. Because, and especially in the practices that I teach, everybody feels you can feel in love a million times, in a night, but it's about opening the heart. And when you open the heart, I call it universal love. But the one is someone that you get along with, someone that you have similar beliefs, like we keep a certain amount of cleanliness in the house or what we like to eat. So finding that what works together and not just I love you, because there's a lot of people I love that I wouldn't be in a relationship with. So we learned the difference between universal love and a love that means this is maybe the one.
There was a seminar, a series. I think I still have the cassette tapes.
That was a long time ago.
It was. Well, it's because this was back in the late 80s, early 90s. I was working for a Christian radio station, and I found out about this guy by the name of Tim Timmons. And he did this series called the Maximum Marriage Seminar or Series. Now, I have since found out that Tim has divorced, which I thought was kind of sad, but
I
hey,
know.
we all have to make our choices. Anyway, in this series that I listened to, he says he had this couple in his office, and they're sitting there, and the wife is just bombing the husband with everything she can think of about how bad he is, how awful, and so on and so on. Just a barrage. And he looks over at the husband while she's going off on him, and he's just cowering, shrunk down in the chair, and he's just kind of taking it, And when she was finished, he's okay. If you really want to fix this, I'm going to tell you which one of you has to start first to start making the changes that need to happen. And there was this long pause, and he looked at them both collectively and said, "You do," not pointing to either of them, but directed at both of them.
Yeah.
It wasn't husband, you have to start. No, wife, you have to start. No, you both have to. Going back to the example of my parents, in the 70s, they came to us, sat us all 6 of us down in the living room, and they said, well, your mother and I would like to attend the marriage encounter through the Catholic Church, which is what we were born and raised as. And we just wanted to see how you felt about it. And of course, I'm sitting here going, what are you asking us for? You guys want to do this, go for it. I mean, we're fine. We can take care of ourselves. I mean, I was a teenager. So it was like I didn't need any supervision, or at least so I thought.
Right.
But they went ahead and did it. And my mother has since told me, she says, we decided to do marriage encounter, even though we didn't think we really need it. But hey, there's always room for improvement. What kind of programs or series, or I don't know, maybe even from your book, do you offer to people, maybe to get them started, or maybe they are already working and doing well, and they just want to do that little thing because there's always room for improvement?
Oh, those are the most fun to work with, because they're not doing the fighting and the arguing and the blaming, and that they're already in love. And I have so much fun with that. I mean, not that anybody else is not in love, but they're in a peaceful place.
Mm-hmm.
And so I teach them like your parents experience. I teach them what experiences, what ways can you be with each other? In my work, I teach about touch with boundaries and consent. And I remember teaching this young couple, they were so in love. And I just had them learn a few new ways of, being warm and using their hands and being present in their hands, being present in their eyes, being able to be in their breath. And there's ways to augment what you feel. So movement, breath, and sound are key components of what I teach. So if I don't have to separate them and, get them, referee them, they can just learn these things, and just to watch them love it and love what they do with each other, and say, we'll be back. Um, so I do that. And I also have programs where couples can join as a couple and learn over a period of 5 or 6 months, depending on their level of skill sets and what trainings they've had. And so then they get to really deepen with each other. And I help them with language. Like you can say no, or you could say, when I tune in, I get a no, but ask me again later. Or my boundary is I just have 10 minutes before I got to go feed the kids and make dinner, but I'd like to cuddle for 5 minutes. Things like that just keep building on the relationship and creating a stronger and stronger bond.
We're talking with Lindy James, lindyjames.com, and we're talking with her here, guess where? On Tell Me Your Story. I am Reverend Dr. D. She is Lindy James. And tell us a little bit about you have at least one book that helps people, that people can pick up at the local bookstore or online at Amazon. First of all, is it available in Audible?
It's available in here.
Okay.
I just started writing, but it hasn't come out at all yet. But to sit down and write is it's a lot harder than I thought. I took a writing class last month, and the details and the creating the feeling and the view and everything that's happening. I was like, oh my goodness, it's a little intimidating. But yeah, there's books on the way, but I don't have anything written. I do have a lot on my website, a lot of blogs, a lot of stories, a lot of videos, and things like that. So they could all be a book at one day.
Well, we look forward to that. And at that point, we'll have you back. I just give you one piece of advice. Now, I'm a one book author thus far. My book choices, 5 Steps for Life. But I would offer just this little suggestion, and that is when you go to write, kind of set aside the intimate feelings of intimidation
Yeah.
and focus on what you know.
Yeah.
Now, if you want to write about nuclear physics, you're certainly welcome to do so. Okay. But if you don't know
Yeah.
anything about it, there would be no point. Okay.
That would be a lot of work. Yeah.
Exactly. So I would stick with relationships and so
Mm-hmm.
forth, and it'll just flow. It'll just flow, and it can be a lot of fun. There's no question about it. Um, so I highly recommend that. I want to actually talk about choices in that regard.
Mm-hmm.
There are a lot of different kinds of relationships,
Oh, yes.
both intimate and then you expand outward. Uh,
Right.
I had a dear friend who he was my best friend for 53 years, passed away during, I think it was back in either 2020 or 2021. I'm trying to remember when. He passed away from a heart attack, but it was exacerbated by the coronavirus.
Yeah. I'm
And
sorry.
but then the other side of it was that even I knew this, and I'm sure he did too, that he didn't take the best care of himself. He didn't eat well. He didn't eat that well. There were a lot of people out there who are in their 60s, 50s, and 60s who were born and raised. They came up with red hair, right? And they still have it to this day. He didn't. And that is due to diet. That is, from what I have learned, that can be due a awful lot to diet, unless, of course, it's turning gray and then going white. But anyway, and I miss him. I wish I could chat with him. We had so much fun together. I have not had the teary-eyed moments because every time I think about him, I just laugh because of the things that we did as we were spending time together during grade school, high school, and college. It was
Oh,
such a blast.
good.
But we also deal in our relationships with loss, and sometimes it's the loss of a partner. And sometimes, if we had children, it's the loss of a child. I still remember my father sitting in his chair in the dining room after my sister's memorial, and these are sort of immortal words from many, many parents. Parents aren't supposed to be burying their kids, was what he said.
No, no.
And there was nothing I could say, obviously, nothing I could add or what have you. And then, of course, he passed a year later. Um, and I just wonder how, because that's a dynamic within the relationship where sometimes it's usually the man, the male of the couple, who has to stay strong, has to hold it together, and yet wants to go in the corner and just have a little puddle party, so to speak. Just wants to cry, just wants to feel the grief so they can get it out. How do you counsel people in that regard? Because I know everybody, they do it differently, but I know that there are some ways. I mean, Elizabeth Kubler-Ross had her list and so forth. What is your counsel when you're dealing with people who are faced with those kinds of, and quite honestly, they are inevitabilities? Because as my
Right.
father said, eat, drink, and be merry, because nobody gets out of this world alive.
You might as well be having fun before you go, and you
Mm-hmm.
don't know when you're going to go.
Exactly.
The strong Buddhist belief is, and it's a fact, life and everything is impermanent. And so, really living while you're alive, it doesn't mean going crazy. It just means the fear of death, and then
Mm-hmm.
the pain of losing someone. And there's a strong belief in our world that being um, vulnerable, being in your tears, is considered weak. And really, if you think about it, being willing to be vulnerable and be in your grief with another is quite a courageous thing.
Yeah.
And allowing yourself to feel your feelings. But what I see that's so important is doing it in a situation where you can be held, not in a place where it's not going to be a loving holding
Yeah.
place. And so I just put my arms around them. I say, let it out, I'm right here. And for me or the partner,
Mm-hmm.
really be solid. You can have tears too. I might cry while you cry in my arms,
Mm-hmm.
but i'm I'm the one holding space. I'm
Right.
holding a solidity so they can melt down. And then, we think we're going to cry forever because the tears are so big. It really only lasts 5 or 10 minutes. And then it's energy moving out. So
Mm-hmm.
when you move the energy, then you can be in more connected to the beauty, to the, purely the sorrow, but also, I love you. I see you've passed on. My wish is for you to, some people say follow the light or
Yeah.
expand into where we came from.
Yeah. I remember what my mother and sisters shared with me at my father's passing, and I wish that we could actually have been physically there. However, we did get to talk to my dad on video phone the night before he passed.
Oh, wow.
And we chatted. And of course, we both shared, hey, that we loved each other. He told me of how proud he was of what I and we, my wife and I, have accomplished. Again, this was like 3 years ago, and we were still living in Santa Barbara. And so I got to see him, in that regard. And then I get the phone call the next night that he was gone. And then they told me what they had done. I thought this was just fabulous, just sort of a sidebar thing here. They said that and there were apparently quite a number of people there at the house, relatives, sisters, and brother-in-laws, and nieces and nephew, and so on and so on and so on, and maybe family friends. And they put a bunch of chairs around the bed where my father was, and they started to sing songs.
Yes, that is the best.
And they sang the traveling songs we would sing on vacation. They
Yeah.
sang hymns. They sang
Oh,
some of his favorite songs, and so on and so forth. And then my mother described it this way. She says, "Oh, yeah, yeah. We sang your dad into heaven."
yes. Oh, that gives me a tear.
Oh, I'm a little choked up myself thinking about it. And I remember that night, my sister called me to tell me, my elder sister, who I'm very close to, and we talk a lot on the phone. I wanted I went into interview mode, and I started asking her questions. Well, what kind of songs did you sing, and so forth? You have a list, almost like you have a list of the songs that you sang, and so forth. They nobody's going to remember, but I'm starting to ask these questions because I want the details, kind of thing. And she got really mad, and she gave the phone to somebody else and walked away. And afterwards, I thought, yeah, I shouldn't have gone there. But what I realized was that I was in one space and she was in a different space.
Yeah.
And where she was at wasn't anger. She was sad because her father was gone. And I remember at his memorial about a week later, and I actually flew in to Phoenix to be there. Um, I heard things about my father that I certainly believed. Okay, I did not otherwise. I believed what they were saying, but that I had never heard before, and it was more along the lines of, "Oh yeah, I have always known that he was the most honest guy I had ever known." And so on, and loyal, and thrifty, and friendly, and brave, and so forth. Your typical Boy Scout. And then of course I heard some stories that they were sharing, and it was interesting to watch my mother. I sat next to her before I went up and gave my remarks, and she just sat there quietly listening to all of the children and the grandchildren and the great grandchildren sharing about their papa, as the grandchildren, great grandchildren called him. And it was really something to watch her. And it was as if she had sort of almost become the observer. I know she wasn't devoid of it, but I think that she was maybe in that space. She wanted to kind of hold it together a little bit while this was going on. And I have to wonder sometimes when there are these kinds of traumas, if you will, or events, because what is it that they say that there's several, like two or three at the top of this list. There's, of course, the death of a partner or a friend or a sibling. There's the loss of a job. There's moving, and so forth. and, and my wife and I have been through all of these. And that we all experience and express it in different ways.
Right.
Um,
Difficulty. Yeah.
yeah. Do you ever have people and maybe it's not in the top three, but maybe it's down the list a ways where, because I was through personal growth programs where they gave us these big old pillows to beat on, for anger and those kinds of things. You ever have that happen in your practice or with some of the groups that you might hold together where, hey, we need to kind of release this energy so that we can move forward, because you're feeling it in the room that, hey, there's a little tension here. We need to let that go.
Yeah. And finding a big hard pillow with a racket,
Mm.
tennis racket to beat on it is one way because you're moving and you can growl and you can holler and it moves stuck energy. When I'm in a group, I might have them stand up and bounce and shake and make sounds. And all of that, everybody has their different way, but helps them to release the stuff that's blocking them from being sad. Generally, under most rage and anger is a really sad and tender place that's being covered up. So being able to move energy, and sometimes I'll say, do it wordlessly, do it
Mm-hmm.
in gibberish, make sounds, make talk, but
Mm.
don't say you, blah blah
Yeah.
blah.
Mm-hmm.
And your sister having you get on the phone and start going, and asking all these questions, it was just like, oh, that's not where I am.
Yeah.
And so being able to say, okay, sweetie, stop, stop. Can we just breathe together? Can we not talk about
Mm.
everything
Yeah.
right now? We can talk later. So that's again back to the question of choice.
Yeah. She did a wonderful things for me when they were preparing, and of course, I was unaware of what was going on in terms of the details following his passing.
Right.
My
And of
wife and
course
I,
you wanted to know.
yeah, my wife and I, we went out to San Ynez Mission out in the San Ynez Valley, and we went in there to the gift shop, and I found this beautiful large um, rose branch cross with thorns on it and then tiny little flower roses, red roses in the center. And what I was going to do was, while I was there at the funeral, I was going to put it in his casket that it would be with him and so forth and so on, right? And then when I get to Phoenix, I find out, oh, he was cremated? Okay. Well,
Mm.
I punted and I went to a dear friend of mine in Santa Barbara who is a glass blower, and he blew for me this beautiful cobalt blue, tall, triangular shaped, if you're looking from above, urn, glass urn. And when I was given the portion of my father's ashes, I put them in there, and then I put the glass lid on and sealed it. And my friend actually, who was blowing the glass, the lid had a hole on it, an indentation, so that I could glue the cross on top of it.
Oh, yeah, beautiful.
I have that on our mantle over our fireplace. And
Beautiful.
it was real interesting. And I was asked maybe a couple months after uh, what I had done with the ashes. And well, my father, he wasn't born in California. I didn't know of a place that would be appropriate to scatter his ashes, so I just thought for the time being, I'll just hang on to him, and put him, like I say, put him up on the mantle. In terms of remembering people, and I know we're kind of shifting, but this is still part of the whole relationship thing because everybody deals with this differently, and we need to allow them to deal with it differently.
Exactly.
Um, what are your thoughts? I'm just curious about your experiences with people you have lost over time, whether they be humans or animals for that matter.
Right.
Um, in terms of holding on to things, we have a number of dog collars that we have hanging on the wall in just outside the kitchen of a couple of dogs that were just oh so special and so forth. As well as I mentioned, my father's ashes. But does that seem to help folks sometimes when they have something maybe on an altar? They create an altar with special things that helps them to um I don't know if I even want to use the word process, but I can't think of anything else. Help to process the emotions, and because a lot of people they get very upset when I can't even remember this person's voice or this or that or the other, and they get real upset because
Right.
they didn't want to forget.
You know, um, I haven't had that many humans pass away in my life that I was close to, but I had a horse that was blind. I had him for 17 years.
Mm,
And he was a very beautiful being. Like sometimes they think, it's a past life bleed through. And I do have altars all over my house, and I have a picture of him. I have a funny little thing. I washed his blanket in a little spiral of his hair on an altar a card someone gave me when he passed. And so when I look at those things, my heart gets happy
mm,
because I'm remembering what a special creature he was.
yeah.
I've had lots of horses my whole life, but this one was amazing, riding a horse on the beach that's totally blind and galloping, you know.
Mm.
And so those
Wow.
kind of remembrances, not only if someone's passed, but anything, a relationship that went another way, I might have some little pin that they gave me or whatever, that we can have fond memories and that keeps them alive in our heart. And, there may be some sadness. There may be a moment where I just go, whether person who's passed can hear us or not, I'll still, send a prayer and I miss you and have a tear sometimes. That when someone passes, we can honor them by holding them in our heart in whatever ways that we. And I love what you did with your father's ashes. It's also a piece of art.
It is. The matter of fact, the gentleman who did this for me, his name is Saul Alcaraz with Santa Barbara Art Glass. Dear friend of ours too. I mean, not just somebody that I just happened to come across, but he has gifted us over the years with different little wonderful things, ornaments for the tree and so forth. And I tell you, a year ago, we began this journey to our new home. And the only time marker that I can think of that started the process on its way. Obviously, it started years before, but in terms of this past year, would be when we had to put down our 100-pound black King Shepherd Angus.
Wow.
Now, the most significant thing about all of that was that following our disbursement from him, and my wife, she went off and she says, "Go ahead," because I had already prepared a place to lay him to rest. And there's no way I could lift him and so forth. So we had him on a rug, on a throw rug, and I slowly, gently dragged him out the back door, down the 3 or 4 steps, the ramp across the yard to this space. But the thing that was most significant was, and my wife she was in tears when she heard me doing this. I was talking with him the whole way.
Yes.
I was talking with him. I'm trying to be as careful with you as I can, and da 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 da. Now I took pictures of the empty grave, and then when I put him in there, I even put a bunch of his toys. This big bear that we had bought him, I put that in there with him, and then I covered it over. Now my wife never went out to see the grave, and I haven't shown her the pictures either because I know. I mean, she just was beside herself.
Yeah.
But those are the kinds of things that, for me, give these various um, events, if you will, uh, real meaning that allow me to go back and look and say, yeah, here's what you did. And I'm sure he appreciated it. Let me ask you about your level of intuitiveness, because obviously you've said before, when you meet couples or individuals, you just feel a certain vibe coming from them, a certain energy, and so forth. And I know that's the same thing, I'm sure, with animals. Uh,
Hmm.
when you are in your safe space where you need to express yourself, um, do you have either a group or an individual, or is this something that you allow yourself to emote, but it's more of a private thing? Where are you in that kind of situation?
I want to preface with, so many people believe that they can only show up when they look good. And I had a student call me and she say, I can't come tonight to the gathering because I can't stop crying. I said, well, come here and cry. And she cried about 10 minutes and then she started laughing, but she was in the arms of about four people.
Yeah.
Most people don't do that. It's like, I have friends that I can call and say, do you have a moment? And he said, this was yesterday. And I said, he said, what's it about? And I started crying. He goes, yes, I have time for you. And just listened and didn't try to fix, didn't try to give me different perspective, but mostly repeated what I said and was doing a reflective listening. So yeah, sometimes I'm just alone, but lots of times I have another friend I can say, can you come over for about 10 minutes? I need to cry on you. And he just sits down and I lean over and I'm like, and then he puts his arm around me and then I'm done and I say, thank you. Because there's a certain amount of chemistry that happens in your brain when you are held, when someone's being present with you. And then for myself and my intuition, then I can say what I'm feeling, is it mine or is it theirs? If I suddenly feel sad, generally if there's not a reason for it, I will know it's theirs. But that takes practice of leaving your mind and being in your body, because in my work and my way of being, your body has so much wisdom. When I'm happy, I have bubbles of champagne in my heart. When I'm
Oh, I like that.
down, I have like a rock in my gut feeling, in my solar
Mhm.
plexus. So I teach how to be more embodied because we need that balance, left brain and right brain.
Yeah.
And that's where intuition comes from, is not thinking, but feeling. And then you can be very much more intuitive. And when I think about my blind horse, I feel him.
Hmm.
It could be my imagination, but I feel him. He was a very loving presence and he was in my life a very long time.
Yeah. Lindy James, my guest. LindyJames.com is the website here on Tell Me Your Story. I am curious, Lindy. This came to mind as you were sharing. One of the most profound experiences in the personal growth programs that I have been through back in the 80s and early 90s.
Oh, those were fun times.
They really were. Working through victimhood to codependency to interdependency and so forth was a lot of fun. I was saddened in 2015 when victimhood, apparently we're doing a rerun for some reason. I don't know why. But
Uh-huh.
anyway, the experiences that I've had in those programs back then, the one experience anyway, or you could call it an exercise, was, and I'm trying to remember the name of it, but I think it's along the lines of a body carry, where the entire group is
Hmm.
behind you and you lean back into them, and then they raise you over their heads, and they just hold you there.
Yeah.
Um, a hug is great. Never want to discount that. But I will tell you that a carry is so incredible with a group of people.
It's transformational.
Yeah.
We're so used to holding ourselves and being strong and handling. And I'm really good at handling stuff. But, I'm a doer. But to have somebody just hold me or have a group of people lift you up, there's a kind of relaxation you cannot get any other way. And tears can come, laughter can come, energy can start moving through the body. It's amazing because these are hands of God in some ways. They're all people holding you in their hearts and in their physical hands.
I have to wonder if the Jewish tradition at a wedding, where they raise the couple up on the chairs over
Yeah.
their heads, is something sort of kind of similar. I mean, that's kind of what flashed in my mind. You know, they're raising them up, they're honoring them, they're supporting them in a big way. That's interesting how we have different cultures that
It's
do that.
ritual. It's
Yeah.
like doing ritual is mental, physical, emotional. It's change. And to be in the ritual where everyone's going, we see you as a couple, as a community, we hold you as a couple,
Yeah.
is beautiful.
Do you have techniques for helping people to clear? This is not avoiding anything because we have to go through whatever it is that we need to go through. Okay. But at the same time, sometimes we do tend to kind of hang on a little longer than
Mm,
is healthy for us. There's a difference because
right.
if you hold on to something and you're not going through it, that's not healthy. But once you've gone through it, it's time to let it go. Do you have any ways to help people to clear some of these things they don't need to hold on to anymore?
Right. Well, first we got to figure out what benefit they're getting from holding on. Like what's the
Ah,
hiding? What's the, what benefit do you get from being a victim? There's a lot of attention you get.
hmm,
There's a lot of people trying to fix it, hold it, save it. So once we unveil that, and there can be a big cathartic letting go, and then it's scary. Like
hmm,
I have a thing around trust, trusting in the universe. I mean, bigger trust. And doesn't mean I'm not scared. It doesn't mean just because I know that I trust everything. But I'm willing to be afraid and still step forward. I
yeah,
no longer let fear, when I'm, stepping into my power, I don't let fear stop me. I use discernment for sure, but I don't let fear stop me.
yeah.
Fear
Interesting.
has good reason too. Like if there's, a bear in your front yard, you don't go outside. But there's fears that are about keeping you safe, but
Yeah,
sometimes we think the fear is keeping me safe, but it's really holding me back
it's
or
funny.
hanging on to, okay, it's been long enough. My partner's been, gone for years. When do I step back into life?
Yeah,
When or do I let myself engage with another person, maybe even another, if I'm a woman, a man, because that is important to us. That whole connection, that oxytocin, that's, you know, it's good medicine.
yeah. You speak of fear, and my wife and I just finished watching just the other night the movie Star Trek Five: Final Frontier. If you
Mm-hmm.
remember it, the main character Cybok, who is Spock's brother, he is looking for the ultimate wisdom and knowledge, and so he goes to the center of the galaxy, allegedly based upon Vulcan and other race mythology that apparently there in the center of the universe, in the center of the galaxy, is this place where supposedly God resides. They all have different names for it. And during the movie, he is not trying to get people to do what he wants, but what he wants to do is help them to let go of their pain. Give me your pain. Tell me about your pain, and so forth and so on. Because then they let go of the fear and they begin to understand what it is that he is searching for. It isn't necessarily they 100% agree, but they don't have the fear anymore. Now,
Right.
what you've just stated is that fear is important. We need to have that. The flight or fight perspective as far as fear is concerned. Um, when we are dealing, I find it interesting if you've ever watched documentaries or award shows and so forth, and people start to get real emotional. They start to cry. And what is one of the one things that many of them will say as they start to cry? I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. And
You're right.
I go, wait a minute, wait a minute. Have you ever said that when you've been laughing? Have you ever said that when you've been angry or any other emotion other than the crying, the tears? No, we never do that. Well, then stop saying I'm sorry when you cry because that's part of who we are.
It is.
How about feeling the freedom? And I've talked with a lot of men about, toxic masculinity and so forth. And by the way, I just saw an article about toxic femininity. I thought that was real interesting. I'm going to
Right.
follow up on that interview and say, could you please describe that for me, please? But men in particular, no, you can't show crying because I mean, I've shared this too. It was a day or two after my father's passing. I was in the shower and I just had that 5 or 10 minute just bawling. session. Yeah,
Beautiful.
you know, but how about the freedom to feel our emotions, whatever they are? Because
Yeah.
in our day and age, and I have to tell you that the man in the White House is devoid of emotion, other than anger and frustration. It's like, you're a human being. Will you please be human? But the rest of us, we're trying to just make it from day to day. And yet our society, in many instances, especially the men, no, you can't do that. Or if a woman is in a position of power, they're afraid that she's going to, forgive the stereotype, during that time of the month, she may push the button and blow us all to Kingdom Come. I'm going, no. And my sisters, I had four of them plus a mother. That kind of scenario never happened. Okay. But what about again, that freedom to emote?
Well, my teacher, I studied a form of psychotherapy called Hakomi, which is very like Zen Buddhism and traditional psychology married. And it's about mindfulness and presence and being real. And my teacher would say, let your emotions pierce you. And to me, that meant really feeling them, but not letting them take you down the rapids.
Mm-hmm.
When, there's times when I'm holding space for someone going down the rapids, they called it, where, but, but to really feel it, but not get lost in it. Like
Yeah.
believing the story. I'm never going to be good enough. All these stories we have about ourselves, or something that happened. Maybe you think it's your fault, or you should have done something different, blame, and all these tears come. And to really catch those beliefs and not have them run the show, but to just have the pure emotion. I'm really sad that so and so is gone from my life. I remember them and I remember what I had with them. It doesn't mean it'll never happen again.
Mm-hmm.
So just being able to feel, and what happens, I remember in the 90s, a common statement was, these are my feelings and I have a right to them. And they were messy. They were crying all over the place and interrupting things. And it was just a very like a process of stages. Now
Yeah.
I can feel my feelings. I can say what I'm sad about. I can ask for what I need, and choose where I fall apart as well. So I
Yeah.
don't have to apologize.
It's important. We need,
Yeah,
because we are emotional beings, and we need
we
to
are.
acknowledge it, honor it, and express it in appropriate ways and so forth. And we can do that. Lindy James, LindyJames.com is the website, and this is Tell Me Your Story. Want to touch upon one other thing before we wrap things up. And, we're not that tight on time, so I'm not going to try to cram this into, okay, you've got 2 minutes.
Okay.
I want to talk about Tantra. First of all, what is it?
Well, I want to say, first of all, what it isn't,
Oh, well, I
because
thought of that, and I went,
when I did my first Tantra training, it was in the 90s, mid 90s, and I expected it to be a giant orgy. And I was terrified. But then I saw, the people that I was scared of are the people who do what I did, what I do. What I saw was it's a spiritual practice, it's a healing practice. And at the time, I was pretty shut down in my heart, but also in my sexuality. And sexuality is a very small part of Tantra. So, what it is a spiritual path to help you learn about your own body and open the energies therein. So, it's a little woo woo for some people. We talk about
mm-hmm,
chakras and opening, but you could just say, a flow through
mm-hmm,
the body. And the primary thing that I teach about Tantra, well, first of all, being at choice. I might teach, how to touch from the elbow to the hand, to be asked, may I touch your hand, to
mm-hmm.
be at choice. And the person learns to go, actually, when I feel into it, I get a no, but we can breathe together, do eye gazing together.
Mhm.
So Tantra really helps us heal those supposed to's that we see in porn, we see in some religions, or things you're not supposed to do, and how we're supposed to be. And
Mhm.
for me, Tantra is breaking up those beliefs, then being more true to yourself. And sex is a very small part of it, but to learn that our sensual energy is fuel for our life force. It's not about getting somewhere or getting somebody into bed or any of that. So for me, I'm 67 and I'm more alive in my body than I was when I was more hormonal in my 20s and 30s. It's
Thank-
really been a beautiful learning and training, and I love teaching.
Well, I'm 66, just turned. I have just begun my 67th travel around the sun.
Yeah.
And I recognized years ago that the body's chemistry, this is speaking now of biology,
Hmm.
changes as we get older.
Right.
And then there are those who, and I'm not sure if you fall under this in this category, who say, well, but it doesn't have to end this or that or the other thing. And I'm going,
Right.
well, okay, I get that. I could go to my doctor and say, could you give me some, I don't know, what, pills or a shot of testosterone to make me, and have the virility and all of that kind of stuff, that I had when I was in my 20s, 30s, and 40s, and maybe early 50s. And yet at the same time, I'm sitting here going, I don't need to be fixed. I'm fine the way that I am. I
Hmm.
understand about being in relationship, and that is part of it. But as you've kind of said, that whole aspect of the way it was phrased in, I went through this Kładoszka program
Oh,
in
yes, I know
okay,
about Kradoska.
all right, and they would reference, they would talk about what has, you talked about the smaller part. They just say friction sex. Okay,
Yes.
that's what everybody's into, friction sex. And I'm going, yeah, but first of all, I don't want to perform, you know. A lot of times you get into a relationship and one of the partners wants the other one to achieve something.
Right.
And I just sit there going, no, I don't want to achieve anything. I just want to be here with you. And whatever happens, happens. Okay. And not go to, and whatever doesn't happen, doesn't happen. No, no, no. We just allow it to be what it's going to be
It
for us.
unfolds.
And so now I'm 66, heading towards, I'm hoping 100. I know that there are men out there who are fathering children, for example, whether it's the old fashioned way or artificially or what have you. And I'm just sitting here going, man, I'm just taking that same energy. All right, we'll call it sexual energy. And I am using it in every other area of my life where maybe I'm not using it in that one area that, oh, yeah, that's where you're supposed to be using it because that's what she wants, and so on and so forth. What about that dynamic in a relationship where you want to do these things, but your body is not doing that, and you don't want to start taking a bunch of chemicals to
Hmm.
artificially, uh, I was I was going to say artificially inflate. Sorry. Uh,
Well, but it's in a way that if you're talking about ego, it's a problem.
yeah.
But in Tantra, it's not a problem.
Okay.
Tantra has a million exercises that open the heart, that when there's no goal, when there's no achieving, something even better happens. And that's hard to train out of people, that we have friction sex and then everybody orgasms and we're done. Oh
Yeah.
my goodness, there's so much more to it. And keeping the body in its vibrancy, and there's there's a radiance that happens that is ageless. And
Hmm.
when we are in that sense of radiance, we are beautiful. No
Hmm.
makeup, no hairdo, no nothing. It's attractive and
Hmm.
attracting. And so it doesn't matter if a man can have a, an erection or not. We call it soft on.
Hmm.
And the energy is still there. And when a woman opens her body through the practices, um, it can feel like making love all the time. It can, in Tantra, we say making love all the time. The sunset, the sunrise, the beautiful flowers in the garden, whatever it is that brings you joy, you experience it in your body. So that's
Mm.
why I say embodiment is everything. We're good at intellect. We're good at building bridges and making lists and figuring things out, but we're not so good at what does your heart say? What does your gut feeling say? What does your third eye say? So Tantra brings all of that alive, and you can make love in so many ways that doesn't involve friction sex.
I recorded a presentation that a gentleman by the name of George Adair recorded in my studio years ago. I still have the
Yeah.
reel to reel. And the basic conversation was around sex, but not friction sex. It had to do with one aspect of it had to do with how everything that has been created specifically by man, everything has been created through sexual energy, not necessarily through sex, but through the sexual energy.
Yeah,
The buildings and the bridges and the roads and the this and the whatever you want to list that we've built, the Tesla, the rockets, and the list goes on of all of the things that man has created. The cell phone all came from sexual energy. It is a creative force.
exactly. In fact, the sexual center is the second chakra. It is creativity and it's creating. How do I want it? Creation.
Mm-hmm.
So children come from that.
Mm-hmm.
So imagine when we build a bridge coming from that creative space. Sometimes when I'm making love, I have a notepad next to the bed. Oh, this great idea comes and I write it down. That's what I want to teach my students. And my partner laughs a lot about that. But it opens a certain, the third eye, the divine in us. It opens a creativity that. So sometimes, if you get a writer's block or you're not feeling creative, you can just put one hand over your heart and one hand cupping the genitals and do some breathing and some little bit of movement. All these things can, I just love teaching how to open back up because people think, oh, I'd rather just never have sex again. I don't feel like it. It's not interesting. It's because they think, oh, I need to do friction sex. I need to be a certain, lit up and juicy and da da da. When sometimes just cupping the body or giving slow touch over the body wakes us back up. It's
Mm.
just slower, but it's, when we're young and hormonal, someone could just go like that and you could be all turned on, so moving to this more mature time in our life doesn't mean we have to let go of being lovers or our creativity or our juiciness.
I know that there are those who have made the conscious choice because of events in their lives with a partner where they say, I'm shutting this part down. I'm shutting it down, but I'm going to take that energy and I'm going to use it over here. Okay.
I think that's, like people that are celibate, that are nuns and priests and monks, that it's not that they shut it down, that they just use it in a different way. It's still being used. And if they do try and shut it down, that's where all that, terrible stuff that happens because people, they abuse like children, like young people. It's not about shutting it down. It's about using it in a different way. And that's a really beautiful path to take as well.
Mm. Well, I think that when we learn about these different aspects of energy within our bodies, then we are able to use them as tools. I mean, that's kind of
Yeah.
what they are.
Yes.
to do the things that we are led to do by that still small voice inside. I mean, it's like you were talking. It's been said that there are some of the greatest ideas come during those periods of time. And like you, where people will write them down and then follow through. What is it? I've heard it also said too that we have like 1,000 or 10,000 great $1 million ideas every day. I mean, there's a large number,
Yeah.
never follow through on them because we don't think that it'll work. I mean, we justify or we criticize our self critic inside. And there, that to me seems as though what you're describing, I'll refer to it as the cupping method, could actually help to bring that out, and then get a pad or something to record with and write these things down. You don't have to do anything with them right now. Just write them down, right?
Right.
The
Right.
creative aspect.
And it also means slowing down. We
Mhm.
live in a culture that's just do this and then that and squeeze things in, having time to just be still
Yeah.
and read what you wrote down and meditate with it and decide what the next step is. And I find, like people are this and this, parties and stuff, like parties in the winter when
Hmm.
we're supposed to be hibernating. Really slow down and be with your body and listen to what the body's teaching you and let the creativity have its canvas in your life.
Mm, very, very cool.
I like that. I shouldn't call that a book, The Canvas of Your Life.
Oh, I like that. That's very
Isn't it
good.
nice?
That's yours because you came up with
Yeah.
it. I won't use it at all. We're talking with Lindy James here on Tell Me Your Story. I am Reverend Dr. D. She is Lindy James. LindyJames.com is the website. And Lindy, I want to thank you so much. We this has just been a lot of fun. We're going to have you back again to talk further about some of these subjects. There's so many things that we didn't get to, but we went down a path that I think that there are people that want and need to hear it and will hear it. And I thank you so much for sharing today. This has
It's
been
wonderful
fantastic.
to be with you, Richard, and thank you for what you do. It's easy to talk to you.
Well, thank you. I do have three final questions that I ask all of my guests. I'll ask those of you. But first, I want to thank you for listening to and watching Tell Me Your Story. New paradigms for a new world, giving you choices and knowledge of those choices to help make your dreams come true. Sundays at 7 a.m. and 7 p.m., Mondays at 1 a.m., Monday through Friday from 8 to 9 a.m., and Wednesdays at 9 a.m., streaming live at all those times at richarddugan.com. We have podcasts on SoundCloud, iTunes, TuneIn Radio, Spotify, Stitcher, Player FM, Blueberry, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music. We are on YouTube and Rumble, and we hope that you will click subscribe as well as notification. Get a copy of my book, which is Choices 5 Steps for Life. It is available at Amazon in hardcover, paperback, as well as Kindle. And we also hope that if you can help us out financially, we would be gratefully appreciative. We have a Zella as well as PayPal account, and you use the same email for both. And it is richard@richarddugan.com. We also hope that you will take the time during this, the decade of perfect vision, the 2020s, to spend some time going within to that quiet, peaceful, calm, still place and listen to that still small voice. Oh, you also want to try to follow the promptings of that still small voice. Not a bad idea. With
Yeah.
all of that, we ask that you now stay tuned for three final questions for our very special guest. The first of those is to our guest, who is Lindy James?
Lindy James is a tantra teacher, a liver. I live fully in my life and in my truth.
What gets you up in the morning?
I teach a morning meditation. I need to be there for it to happen.
Very good, and I know they appreciate it. Final question is, what was your best day?
Oh boy, what was my best day? The day my son was born.
Well, Lindy, once again, thank you so much. We will have you back again to talk further. And we look forward to when you do have your book available for us to read and or listen to. And I thank you folks again for joining us here on the program. And until our next broadcast, podcast, videocast, love to all. Jeanette, I'm still listening. Dad, continue to be happy because I am. Smokey, I'll see you on the other side. Mike, thanks for being in my life and letting me be in yours. To my brother Michael, welcome to fatherhood, my friend. And to my dear friend Zorro, aho, aho.
To my dear beloved Domino, blessings.